A law enforcement officer had stopped at a Texas ranch where he was talking to an old Texas rancher. "I need to check the fields on your old homestead for illegally grown drugs," the officer said. "Well, okay," the old rancher agreed, "but they really ain't no need. I never did plant no illegal seed or grow no kind of illegal weed." "That's what they all say," the officer responded, "but I'll have a look anyway in them fields over yonder." "Well, okay," the old rancher agreed, "but they really ain't no need, especially in that field with them there mesquite trees. Ain't nothing in that field with them there mesquite trees except for cinnamon spice and some gypsum weed. My advice would be, Mr. Law Enforcement Man, is to shy away from that field with them there mesquite trees as far as you possibly can." "Cinnamon spice," the officer replied. "Cinnamon spice indeed. Nice try, you old hayseed. But I do believe you just revealed to me the location of your illegal weed." Now, I don't have a badge here, but I'll pretend I do. See this badge I'm holding here in my hand? This badge authorizes me to go anywhere on any land. My authority is all-encompassing, powerful and complete. This badge gives me dominion over man, fish, fowl, or beast. Now, I'm going to have a look at that field with the mesquite trees and your so-called cinnamon spice. Any old hayseed thinks he can outfox me had better think twice. "Well, okay," the old rancher agreed. "I sure enough can see how that there badge does indeed wield a whale of a lot of authority." Then he walked away and went about his chores, and later in the day heard one hell of a ruckus and uproar. There were screams, panic, trepidation, and sounds of trepidation and desperation. The old rancher ran to the fence without pause or hesitation. He saw the officer running for his life, being chased by his bull called Old Cinnamon Spice. Old Cinnamon Spice had an 8-foot horn span and was known for being the meanest bull north of the Rio Grande. With every step, Old Cinnamon Spice was gaining ground and breathing down the officer's neck with every bound. It was almost for certain and 90% for sure. For sure. The officer was going to get himself gored. The old rancher climbed to the fence's top rung, frantically waving his arms and shouting to the top of his lungs, "Remember your badge! Your badge! Show him your badge!" Ma and Pa were hillbillies, moved on out to Idaho for corn, tomatoes, beans, and taters to grow. They had a milk cow, chickens, and a hog or two, along with a mule and a walking plow. Their needs were few. They was chipping away to run a pretty good luck until one day tragedy struck. When the hole under the outhouse got plumb filled up, Pa ain't got a clue on what to do with that there stuff. Ma says to Pa, "Go ask the young'un down the road a bit. He's a college graduate and just smarter than a whip." Pa don't hesitate, just heads on out in the truck to go ask the young college graduate, did we use Chris before? Chris Martin, about cleaning out outhouse stuff. Pa says, "I got a bad situation, I'm kind of tight. Figured you being a college graduate, you might could give me some advice. The hole under my outhouse got plumb filled up and I ain't got a clue on what to do with that there stuff." Chris says, "I got the education, the knowledge, and the clout. It's a pretty fair estimation a mite can help you out. It's a simple enough chore if you do it right. Go to the hardware store and buy 2 sticks of dynamite. One with a short fuse and one that is long, and if you'll do as I tell you to do, you can't go wrong. Place both dynamite sticks underneath the outhouse seat, and after both fuses are lit, make a hasty retreat. The first stick will go off shooting the outhouse straight in the air. Then the second stick will go off blasting that stuff out of there and scattering it everywhere. The outhouse will come back down without doing no harm, and the stuff scattered all around on the ground will fertilize the farm. Now it might smell a bit and be a kind of stinky place, but the fertilizer benefit received from it will put a smile on your face. Now this procedure will work and work just pretty darn slick, and for cleaning out households it'll do the trick. Well, Pa took Chris' advice, went to the hardware store and bought 2 sticks of dynamite. One with a short fuse and one that is long, just like Chris told him to do, so he can't go wrong. Went back home with his dynamite and worked all alone because Ma was nowhere in sight. He placed both dynamite sticks underneath the outhouse seat, and after both fuses were lit, he made a hasty retreat. When all of a sudden, from the corner of his eye, Pa sees Ma go rushing on by. She runs in the outhouse and slams the door. Good Lord Almighty, Ma'll be blown to smithereens for sure. Off goes the first stick of dynamite and shoots the outhouse 50 feet straight in the air. Boom goes the second stick of dynamite, blasting that stuff out there and scattering it everywhere. Wham! The outhouse slams back down atop an empty hole, just like Chris had pronounced, prophesied, and foretold. Pa runs to the outhouse and swings the door open wide. Sees Ma sitting in a smoke cloud all wild and buggy-eyed. Her eye keeps on twitching. On twitching. With trembling hands, she pulls up her pants and says, "Thank heavens I didn't break wind in the kitchen."
It deals with flatulence. So if anyone's going to be offended, I don't care. We've all seen it happen, or heard it, I should say, usually as you start your ride quite early in the day. Somewhere on the forest trail, just as you round a bend, a tail goes up and dawn is shattered by a gust of wind. You don't give it much notice, it's just a common horse's thing. Maybe chuckle to yourself if it keeps continuing. But as for me, I like the slightest hint of competition. So one day I surprised my mount with my own fair rendition. I forced one out and soon was met with an astonished gaze. Blaze knew it wasn't Preacher, who knew it wasn't Blaze. 2 geldings used to passing gas alone or with each other were quite surprised to hear my blast, and so I ripped another. They both looked up in disbelief. Each showed a toothy grin, and it soon became apparent that they wouldn't let me win. Their tails came up in unison, and methane filled the air. A melody and harmony, it didn't quite seem fair. Now some folks train for years and years with all their soul and heart, while others are just born with a propensity to fart. Some do little freeps and forps with gusto and aplomb, but can't do a triple flutter blast or a deadly methane bomb. Now I'm not the best in the world, but I can hold my own with most of the notorious gas passers I have known. So I raised up in the saddle and I gave it my best try. The Preacher had a very loud, immediate reply. I had to strain and sweat and push. I almost popped a vein. But Blaze responded easily with hardly any strain. And so I let a few more go from elevated cheek until I was exhausted, or pooped out, so to speak. Then these 2 painted ponies I thought were my good friends continued up the trail with every hoofbeat breaking wind. And so I just resigned myself to what I knew, of course. No matter how hard you may try, You can't outfart a horse. And so when I next find myself in this unique position, I'll turn the other cheek and just avoid the competition.
It is entitled, I'll Be Seeing You on the Bus. Cowboys, they say, were the movers and shakers, the original jack of all trades and the innovators. Whatever it takes to get the job done, a cowboy steps up and is usually the one. But the latest in technology and innovation comes from all places, the United States Department of Immigration. They have devised a bold and innovative new plan designed to save the economy of this great land. They have accumulated piles and piles of data proving for a fact that to catch and deport illegals who only come back has such a high cost as to keep them operating in the red. So now they will catch and deport senior citizens instead. Older folks are slower and easier to apprehend, and once deported, can't find their way back home again. It will lower Social Security and Medicare costs, and the economy can recoup much of what had been lost. It's an ingenious plan. Why hadn't they thought of it before? It'll save Uncle Sam billions and maybe even more. Other savings are in the area of transportation. No longer a need for expensive air-conditioned buses like used in illegal alien deportation. Seniors can be deported at a fraction of the cost in old used school buses acquired from salvage lots. Just air up the tires and muck them out a bit, and them old buses are ready and fit for a senior deportation trip. Brown bag lunches will be provided at the start of the trip, consisting of bologna sandwiches and prune juice to sip. It's impossible to estimate how long the trip will take due to the many unscheduled potty stops along the way they'll have to make. I tell you, when I thought of you, my friends, I started to make a fuss. Then my memory kicked back in again, and I thought, oh shucks, it is quite a remarkable plan, which might save a few bucks. Besides, my friends, I'll be seeing most of you on the bus.